Hi guys, okay, a quick video for you as a report on what we were talking about earlier. Now, as those of you will recall, I said that I was going to the Frozen Foot camp out this past weekend. I was going to be using my hot tent, and I would be using my wood stove in it. And I had some experiments I was going to try for the heating of it using that wood stove. And these are the results of that I want to share with you. So in a nutshell, on the previous camp out I used this, I ran just wood. I pre-cut hardwood down to small lengths and put them in a bucket so I could carry them and easily stoke the fire. But the problem with these really small wood stoves for use in these hot tents is they don't have a lot of depth capacity. They just don't have that much fuel on board. And so you're constantly having to retop it up, especially when you're trying to keep it going long term. Well, when you're trying to sleep, that's kind of, you know what I mean? So, in this experiment on Friday night, I set up and I went in there and I was using not wood, but lump charcoal. Now, what's the difference? This is lump. This is a briquette. See the difference? What this is actual char. This is just hunks of wood that had been burned in a kiln without oxygen. Like we make char cloth, they do that with wood hunks and make char. You usually find this stuff where you find in the barbecue section, where you find the briquettes, is usually going to find this, and it's called lump, L-U-M-P, charcoal. And it's this, okay? Now what this does is I started the fire as normal. And then once it got going, I changed over to hunks of this. This just quickly reignites and becomes a coal. You know how char cloth burns. And it burns completely and makes just white powdery ash. But more importantly, it's a nice long even burn. And so I took a 5-gallon bucket full of lump charcoal. For running that stove 6 hours, because I was in the tent for 6 hours, just sitting there reading and enjoying my hot tent, camping alone kind of at this event. And it took 1/4 of a bucket for me to run that stove for 6 hours, about that much out of a 5-gallon bucket, and generated all the heat I'd ever asked for, little or no smoke. When you went outside and looked at the smokestack, there was just no smoke coming out because all of those gases had been burned off of this. See, so it's the carbon burning. It made a nice, warm, even heat. Now the low that night was 26 at the town at the bottom of the mountain, and that we're at 2,000 feet elevation, basically above that. So it felt more like the teens is what it felt like when you step outside and take care of nature's call. You could easily see your breath out of your nose and your mouth. I mean, constant every breath. So therefore, that's normally in the teens when that happens. But with this, I was able to keep it nice and toasty warm there, where I was not wearing my jacket, just wearing like a single layer or 2 layer, you know, and was comfortable. But again, you had about a 30 to 45 minute run time, and then you needed to restoke it, okay? So I wanted to try something different for Saturday night, and I did. For Saturday night, with the temperature going to be about 15 degrees, 20 degrees warmer, the low is only going to be 37 instead of 20 something. I wanted to try an experiment that I've been thinking of. You know how, like I said, how small that metal box is. Well, I'm going to be spending most of my time sitting around the fire with the guys talking. But I don't want to come back to a cold tent. So here's what I did. About 2 hours before it was time for me to go to bed, I went back to my tent. I had already dumped out that morning all the ash and stuff out of my stove, so my stove's empty. It's already hooked up with a pipe. I opened the door, and I took 2 cans of sterno. I lit them and slid them into the stove and then closed the door. I put the dampener at about 45, about like that, and I left the air vent wide open, and 2 of these sternos going. And I zipped the tent up and I went back to camp. Now, Blackie fumes, nope, that's going up the chimney, just like smoke would. But these 2 running up on that steel top plate, the top of the stove, radiated heat. Well, these will run, it says run time 2 1/4 hours on one of these. So two of them running side by side generate quite a bit of heat. Well, I went back to the fire, sat and visited with everybody, and then about 2 hours later it was time for bed. And I came in, unzipped the tent, and it was visibly very warm in there. Not like it'd been warm with the cold, no. But outside you'd easily see your breath. But inside, as soon as I zipped the tent and was in there for just a minute or two, you couldn't see your breath. And it felt like it was in the low 60s, maybe 50s. And they're definitely about 20, 25, 30 degrees warmer. And no humidity. This dries out the air. And so, after I made sure that everything was good, I took my little hook and I fished out the 2 cans, which were basically empty. And then I put just 1 can in. I lit it and I slid it back in. I closed the door. And I got dressed and I went to bed. And I didn't have a condensation problem inside that hot tent. This kept that warm going. Not, like I said, not like, I run around the shirt sleeve and t-shirt. But there was dry, and it was very much, you could tell, warmer in here than it was outside. But I didn't have any condensations on the wall or anything else. When I got up in the morning, everything was dry. I got up to take answer nature's call about 4 a.m. Took the last one of these I had, lit it, slid it in the door, closed the door. So I was able to sleep from, say, midnight till 4 when I got up to answer nature's call, and then sleep on the rest on 2 cans of sterno. That's pretty good idea, see. So, obviously feeding it wood or feeding it the lump coal is the way to go when I'm going to be sitting in there active and I want to keep a constant warm where I don't have to wear a lot of clothes. But when I'm going to be in my sleeping bag in my hammock anyway, this makes a great night heater to just keep the thing going. And if I wake up cold, it is nothing to go whoop, slide another one in. Thought I'd share this with you guys. Please put any questions or comments down below, and thank you very much for supporting the channel. Till next time, guys, I'm Blackie, wishing you safe journeys. Have a great day, guys.